You're a failure.
Wait! Don't walk away from me! I'm not done yet! I don't quit! And I don't go back on my word! That's my nindo, my ninja way!
Everyone knows that line. You've heard it 100 times, seen it on phone cases, t-shirts, motivational edits with lo-fi playing underneath, and every time, it sounds like strength. It isn't. That line is a child who learned that if he stopped moving, nobody would notice him at all. Here's what people miss about Naruto Uzumaki. They see the loud kid, the one who runs into walls and gets back up laughing, the one who announces his dreams to anyone who will listen, and plenty of people who won't. They call it resilience. They call it optimism. They make motivational content out of it. But here's what that actually is. Naruto Uzumaki learned something before he could read. He learned it from empty apartments and cold rice left on the counter. He learned it from classmates who moved away from him in the lunch hall, from a whole village that looked at a little boy and saw a monster. He learned, if I am invisible, I disappear completely. So he became the loudest thing in every room, not because he was confident, because silence was the most dangerous thing he had ever felt. The pranks, the announcements, the orange jumpsuit you can see from 3 streets away. None of it is ego. All of it is a child screaming, "I am here," at a world that kept looking through him. And here's the thing about that kind of noise. It works, for a while, until the thing you're really asking for, will you stay, will you see me, will you choose me, never actually gets answered, because nobody heard the question underneath the volume. Psychologists have a name for what Naruto built, a performed self, sometimes called the false self. Not fake in the way a lie is fake, but false in the way a scar tissue is false. It covers the wound, it lets you function, but it isn't the original skin. Naruto's original skin was a boy who sat alone on a swing on the first day of the academy and watched every other child get pulled away by a parent. And the look on his face is not anger. It's not even sadness. It's the expression of someone who already understands nobody is coming. That understanding does something to a child's nervous system. It writes a rule so deep that the adult brain can't find it to question it. And the rule Naruto wrote was this: if I want love, I have to earn it. If I want to be seen, I have to perform. If I want to matter, I have to become something impossible to ignore. So he decided to become Hokage. Not because he wanted power, because he wanted the one thing being Hokage would guarantee, that everyone in the village would have to look at him, that nobody could ever look through him again. That's not ambition. That's a 4-year-old on a swing, grown up and running towards the only exit he could find. Here's what most people don't understand about kids who grow up without secure attachment, without a parent who showed up consistently, who held them when they were scared, who just was there. They don't grow up emotionally numb. They grow up hypervigilant, scanning every room for threat or approval or the slightest shift in someone's expression. They learn to read people the way other kids learn to read books, because people were the most important survival information they had. And they perform, not to deceive, to survive. Naruto's loudness is performing. His refusal to give up is performing. Even his nindo, I never go back on my word, is performing. It's a contract he made with himself. If I am consistent enough, reliable enough, loud enough, enough, eventually someone will choose to stay. And here's the cruelest part. It worked. With Iruka, with Jiraiya, with Team 7, with the entire village, eventually. Which means the performing self got rewarded so many times that it became impossible to separate from the real one. What does Naruto Uzumaki actually want? What does he like? Quietly, alone, with no one watching? The show almost never asks, because Naruto almost never asks either. The Nine-Tails is not a monster. The fox sealed inside him since birth, Kurama, is the most honest piece of writing in the entire series, because what is a demon made from? In the world of Naruto, tailed beasts are formed from concentrated negative emotion, grief, rage, fear, hatred, compressed over generations into a thing with teeth and claws and chakra that could level mountains. Naruto carried that inside him, and the village looked at that seal and saw the monster, the thing to be feared, the reason to keep their children away and their doors closed. They never once asked, what does it feel like to carry that? He was the child of everyone's grief. He absorbed the village's pain before he could speak, was sealed with it before he could walk, was punished for it before he could understand what he'd done wrong. Psychologists call this the parentified child, the child who absorbs the emotional weight of adults around them, who becomes responsible for feelings they did not create and cannot control. Naruto didn't parentify himself to one parent. He did it for an entire village. He took their hatred inside himself and decided he would not become it. He decided, at some age that is almost impossible to imagine, that he would love them anyway, not because they deserved it, because he needed to become someone who could. There's a scene, not a fight, not a battle, not a speech. It's a flashback. Young Naruto, maybe 6 or 7, sitting at a ramen counter. Tucci, the old man who runs the stand, refills his bowl without being asked. Doesn't say much, doesn't make a fuss, just stays. And Naruto's face does something it almost never does. Goes still, not performing, not announcing, not running toward anything. Just a child who has been given something so small it barely registers. A bowl of warm soup from someone who didn't leave, and the relief on his face is so enormous, it breaks you completely. Because you understand, right then, that this is what he was asking for every single time. Underneath every loud entrance and every impossible promise and every proclamation about being Hokage, just someone who refills the bowl, just someone who stays. This is why Sasuke matters so much, not as a rival, as a mirror. Sasuke had everything Naruto didn't: a family, a clan, a name, a father who acknowledged him, a brother who loved him, and he lost all of it in a single night. He went from having it all to having nothing. Naruto went from having nothing and quietly decided it would never stop him. They are the same wound, approached from opposite directions. Sasuke's response to loss was to hollow himself out and fill the cavity with a single purpose. Naruto's response to never having had it was to fill himself with everyone else so completely there was no space left for the emptiness. Both of them running, both of them toward the other. Naruto never stopped chasing Sasuke. Not because of some rivalry, not because of some abstract loyalty, because Sasuke was the first person who ever treated him like he was normal. Not pitied him, not feared him, not looked through him, just saw him. And when you have gone your whole life without being seen, you do not let go of the person who did it first. Even if they run, even if they hurt you, even if the entire village tells you he isn't worth it. Because you know, in the part of yourself that is still 4 years old on that swing, that if you can bring him back, if you can make someone who left choose to return, it will mean something you cannot quite say out loud. But here's the question the series spends 500 episodes circling. What happens when the performing self finally wins? Naruto becomes Hokage. He gets the recognition. The village loves him. Every face he walks past lights up. He has a wife, a family, a legacy, a name that will outlive him. And he misses his son's birthday. Not because he's a bad person, because he never learned the difference between being seen by a crowd and being present for one person. Because the performing wound never healed. It just scaled up. The audience got larger. The obligation got larger. The boy on the swing became the man who was responsible for everyone's safety. And the thing that saved him as a child, make yourself indispensable, make yourself impossible to lose, became the thing that cost him the family he finally had. The wound that helped him survive was the same wound that made it hard to live. That's not a character flaw. That's what unhealed childhood attachment looks like in a 40-year-old body wearing a Hokage hat. Psychologists call what Naruto eventually builds. Slowly, imperfectly, across 500 episodes of running toward people who tried to leave. Earned secure attachment. You are not born with it. You don't inherit it. Some people never manage it at all. It means you started in a place where trust felt like a liability, where love felt like a trap, where being seen felt more dangerous than being invisible. And through enough evidence, enough Iruka-sensei moments, enough refilled bowls, enough people who stayed past the point where it was comfortable, your nervous system slowly rewrote the rule. Not love has to be earned, just love exists. I am allowed to receive it. Naruto never stops being loud. He never stops running forward. He never fully lets go of the orange jumpsuit you can see from 3 streets away. But something changes. In the middle of the series, around the time Jiraiya dies, and Naruto sits alone and doesn't perform for anyone. He just grieves. No announcement. No nindo. No promises about what he'll become. Just a young man who loved someone and lost them and let himself feel it. That's the moment. Not the sage mode. Not the six paths power. Not the final battle. That is when Naruto Uzumaki becomes whole. Not when the village finally cheered for him, when he finally stopped needing them to. We all have our orange jumpsuit. The thing we made ourselves so we'd be impossible to overlook. The version of us that learned, if I disappear, I'm gone forever. The question isn't whether to be loud or quiet. It's whether you're performing for the crowd, or finally at last, just living for yourself.